Yeah, so our engine runs of the day. The first run tends to be the easiest one to do. The engines are cold. They tend to cooperate a lot better, start easier. Our afternoon run, when the engines will still have heat, especially today, we don't prime them at all. So we just see if they'll start. If they aren't starting, then we'll add prime because you're more prone to getting engine fires in that situation. If we get that, we just keep turning the engine over and you actually give it more throttle because you get more air in there, blows the fire out. Desiree, one of our crew team, she's going around now checking all the oil levels on all 4 engines. We need a minimum of 2 people. So one is the flight engineer and one is the pilot. So your flight engineer really is the one that's doing all the work. We have a checklist that we follow. The checklist is what they used in the Second World War, and we follow it to a T. And that way we don't make mistakes or forget things. So you're going through, you're making sure the power's on, all the breakers are on.
Yellow breaker.
He then selects which fuel tank we're using.
Number 2.
The pilot's, sure, he's the magic guy that pushes the button and it finally has ignition, but really the engineer's doing all that. And then once it's started, the engineer then has to look at all the engine controls, which are all on the starboard side there, to make sure we have oil pressure. And then monitor temperature. But our first thing is oil pressure, because if we don't make oil pressure right at the start, then we're going to stop the engine. Flight engineer has to watch and see if the engine fires and engages. If it doesn't, he has to add more prime because the engine won't start. The engine itself has a fuel pump as well, but until that engine starts and runs, it doesn't pump much fuel. So there's lots on them, so they have to keep an eye on all that, and then they let the pilot know as we progress what the engine temperatures are, because that's what tells us how long our engine run's going to be. So normally we can get about 15-20 minutes. By then they're getting over 100 degrees, so they're getting a little hot. So we've converted our outer board tanks, our number 3 fuel tanks, actually hold water, and we have now created a spray bar system. So we spray water on the radiators during our engine run, which allows us to run quite a bit longer, because this aircraft and Merlin engines are very prone to overheating. So they really need airflow. They need to take off and get air going through that radiator.
And there we go. That is what we like to call the Symphony of the Merlins.